Some show up at Keeneland just to be beautiful, some for the burgoo. Me, it's because the best handicapping challenge on God's green earth is right here in Kentucky. Star horses come from Florida, California, and New York, Arkansas, and Louisiana, all to what undoubtedly is the greatest horse racing melting pot in America.
Into the stretch at Keeneland, and Flight Line just moves right by. Life is good.
Win here and you've done something. Love what you do and you'll never work a day in your life. That's Keeneland. Now, let's get handicapping. And a good Saturday night, everybody. Welcome into the Keeneland Look Ahead. I'm Jeremy Plonk from Horse Player Now and Keeneland.com. We're going to preview the Sunday, October 15th card that features the return of Breeders' Cup champion and Franklin Stakes defending champion Caravel as she tries to get back to Santa Anita for the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint in a few weeks. We'll see how she tunes up in the feature race of 9 on the Sunday card. Weather looks okay. It's going to be an autumn kind of day, gray and overcast. Temperatures in the upper 50s, high temperature forecasted for 57 degrees on Sunday. But the good news is it's supposed to be dry. So we should have good racing conditions on the dirt and the turf. Welcome into the program tonight. I'm going to take you through all 9 races with our look ahead, our big picture of how the card sets up tomorrow. 9 race program. So we're going to have a swing race in race number 5 that's part of the early pick 5 and the late pick 5. If you have a good opinion in race number 5 tomorrow, it kind of gets you excited, and it's one of my key plays of the day. So I'm looking forward to this card. And after having 3 winners on top today, we got back on the beam, and 4 of our second choices won races. So it was a fairly formful day across the way at Keeneland for sure, but it felt good to pick some winners today. And really, today's story was all about the big one, the Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup. And what a race we had there where Maj, the winner of the British 1000 Guineas, was back in action for the first time since running at Newmarket in the spring. And boy, she just went right to the front and nobody could catch her. Here's a look if you missed today's QE2, the only grade 1 race in North America today.
On to the final turn they go. Maj is the leader by a half length. Elusive Princess is there in second. Mission of Joy up close, third toward the inside. Papilio is fourth, 3 lengths off the lead toward the outside. They turn for home, a quarter mile to go in the Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup presented by Dixiana. And here's Elusive Princess coming after Maj, and Mission of Joy tries to find room between that pair. Maj has the lead. Mission of Joy second, Elusive Princess third. Lindy is up to fourth and coming late. Maj, still the leader. Mission of Joy, then Lindy. Maj, Lindy running on. Maj, Lindy trying. Here's the wire. Maj takes it by a neck for O'Shane Murphy and Godolphin.
Sharp performance from the top 2 finishers in there. Lindy was picking them up late under Tyler Gaffalione, and we previewed Lindy on the show last night with Tom Leach's that interview with Tyler Gaffalione, talking about the turn of foot and the smile that was on Tyler's face talking about Lindy after her performance at Kentucky Downs first time in the U.S. She ran to that excitement. She ran a great race. She just got beat by an international superstar in Maj. Now, Maj is going to head to the Breeders' Cup next. Trainer Saeed Bin Saur of Godolphin, in the interview with Scott Hazelton post-race, said they're definitely headed to Santa Anita for the Breeders' Cup. Knock on wood that all things are healthy. The question now becomes Breeders' Cup mile or Breeders' Cup filly and mare turf. Filly and mare turf will be at 1.25 miles, the 1/8 of a mile longer than what she ran here in the Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup. The mile seems like her best distance. Of course, that was the Guineas distance that she won, the 1,000 Guineas earlier this year. I would think that she's going to be better as a miler. We've seen fillies have a lot of success, 3-year-old fillies especially, in the Breeders' Cup Mile over the years and at Santa Anita. And with that hard, over-the-top turf course that they have at Santa Anita compared to what we had at Keeneland today and what she's seen overseas, that top of ground running could really, really be strong for Maj as she looks forward to the Breeders' Cup. So I would run her in the mile. The one thing about the filly and mare turf at 1.25 miles is it's on the downhill turf course at Santa Anita. So the first part of the race starts down the hill. You don't need quite as much stamina for the full distance of 1.25 miles at Santa Anita as you might have at some other racetracks that have more of a traditional 2 or 3 turn kind of race on the grass for a distance like that. That downhill portion of the race does make it a little easier on horses. So we shall see. I'd love to see Lindy in the Breeders' Cup as well. Big time effort from the second place finisher. What a day for Godolphin. Not only did they win here at Keeneland with the stakes winner in Maj. They also won the Grade 2 Sands Point in New York at Aqueduct today. That with a horse named Eternal Hope. So a big day for the fillies on the turf for Godolphin. And of course, the Godolphin Blue was represented in the winner's circle in Friday's feature at Keeneland. That was Brave Act winning the Sycamore Stakes. And if it's not enough Godolphin Blue for you, right after we saw the win by Mosh today in the QE2, the Big Blue was represented in the very last race on the card, next race on the program, when First Mission, winner of the Coolmore Lexington Stakes, when last seen here in April, returned after a long-awaited layoff and won the finale with trouble and overcame it to win an allowance race here at Keeneland that's absolutely going to set him up to be a stakes horse. I would have to think Clark Handicap at Churchill Downs would be something you'd look at with First Mission, maybe the Cigar Mile in New York. These races post Breeders' Cup would make a lot of sense now for First Mission. Would they try to bite off the apple and go for the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, a race Brad Cox has been pretty supportive of in recent years? I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't say it's out of the question to come back on 3 weeks and take First Mission if he could get in to the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. He's of that quality. I don't know if the race today was good enough to put you in a position to win the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, so I would go for something like the Clark Handicap or the Cigar Mile after Breeders' Cup with First Mission, but he could be set up to have a really, really good year. I mean, you're talking races for him like the Pegasus World Cup Invitational in January, Dubai World Cup, obviously, is a Godolphin color bearer on the dirt. Could be a big goal for that one come March. So a lot of future still ahead for First Mission, a very talented horse. And we know when he won the Lexington here in the spring, what a great race that was. He beat Arabian Night, who'd go on to win the Pacific Classic. Third place finisher in that race was Disarm, who was top 5 in the Derby and ran second in the Travers. So high quality animal, First Mission. Great to see him back today and in the winner's circle in race number 9. Another guy who was in the winner's circle today, and it's becoming commonplace this week, was Ian Wilkes. He won the first race on the card. Third time in 4 days of racing this week that an Ian Wilkes trainee has won. And you go back on the 8th, he also won a race at Keeneland. So he's got winners in like 4 of the last 5-6 racing days here at Keeneland. The Ian Wilkes barn going really good right now. So keep that in mind as we handicap into the Sunday card. On Sunday, as far as where we're looking for the horses to be on the track in terms of speed, closers, it's still about a closer's profile here on the main track. We had one day with some speed that clicked. Today with some overnight rains and some rain mid-card. You thought maybe speed would hold better today, but it didn't. There was only 2 winners on the main track who won on the front end throughout the card today. Predominantly horses that came from a bit off the pace were successful, and not like they're deep, crazy closers winning these races, but you expect speed to just carry at Keeneland. This is what we're used to here, and hasn't been the case for the vast majority of these 7 days of racing so far. Day 8 of the meet kicks off here at 1 o'clock on Sunday, and before that card, be sure to check out Scott Hazelton and Caton Bradar as they preview the Sunday card for you on the Today at Keeneland show. They'll have all the updated scratches and changes, the Clocker report, Tom Leach's long shot plays of the day, and their top handicapping plays of the day. So be sure to check that out on the YouTube page for Keeneland Official, on the website, Keeneland.com, in the live streaming section, and also on the simulcast feed. That'll be 11:30 a.m. each race day. Our job here on the look ahead is to look ahead to the card. So without further ado, let's get started on this 9-race program. And here's the big picture, how the 9-race program unfolds. We've got pick 5 starting in race number 1. That's going to go races 1 through 5. If you're new to taking a look at the big picture, this is how we look at where the multi-race wagers start and how they may overlap with each other throughout the card. Race number 2 starts the early pick 4. Pick 6 on a 9-race card. No carryover in the pick 6 going into Sunday. It'll be races 4 through 9. The early pick 5 ends in the 5th race, but then it starts the late pick 5 as well. So that's a swing race, a key race for us in race number 5, which also starts the Keeneland Turf pick 3 in a turf sprint allowance. Race number 6 starts the late pick 4, which will take us through the stakes race. The stakes on the card is the Franklin Stakes, race number 7. Interesting placement for a feature race. Usually it's the next to last race on the card, but it'll be the 7th on this program because we want to get it in the Keeneland Turf pick 3. You don't want to run back-to-back races on the turf. You get a chance to get out there, replace the divots, things like that. So we don't like to run consecutive races on the turf. So that moves the feature up into the 7 hole here in the 9-race program. Stakes company there were the Keeneland Turf pick 3. Turf pick 3 then wraps up in the 9th race on the card. Our key plays of the day, races 3, 5, and 7. And again, race number 5 is that swing race where we've got the early and late pick 5. We also have the Keeneland Turf pick 3. If you can hone in on a horse in race number 5 that you really like today, Sunday, this is the time to dive into the multi-race bets and attack. And we've got one that we like. We'll talk about that as we go through each of the picks on the card. Okay, next up, we go to the handicapper selectors box, and here are the 9 races and our 5 public handicappers. You can download and print this out at Keeneland.com. Scott Hazelton and Caton Bradar from the simulcast feed. Tom Leach, the voice of the Wildcats. He's a little busy right now as we're live. He's in the second quarter at Commonwealth Stadium calling the Cats and Missouri Tigers. For our fans who are taking in some college football tonight, Louisville's in action at Pitt as well as we go live. So we know a lot of you are going to be checking this out on Sunday in the archives. Welcome in and thanks for joining us, whether you're catching it live or on the archives each and every day. Kim Nelson's got her pick submitted as well as I, and we are on the same horse, Kim and I, in race number 1. It is Derek, the 9, also top pick of Caton Bradar, second choice of Scott Hazelton. Derek is a Brad Cox trainee coming out of a 1.16 race, cutting back to 7 furlongs in this maiden claiming contest. Cox's horses hit a high percentage at any level here at Keeneland, but he does really well with the horses dropping into the maiden claiming ranks. Don't be surprised by that. Derek, the horse to beat in race number 1. The outside post, 9-hole, not a big deal because we're going 7 furlongs. Long run into the first turn. Derek just looks like the class of the field, dropping out of the $75,000 ranks. Showed some speed at Horseshoe Indianapolis. Showed a little bit of speed at Churchill going long. Should be able to be competitive early and not drop far out of here, because if you look through the running lines of the other horses in this field, there is no early speed to be found. Valuable Cargo maybe tries to go towards the front end here. Maybe the 3 horse has shown a little speed back a ways. Dream Within a Dream. Sias can be aggressive. Maybe that one. I would have to project that the 3 makes the lead in here, but I think Derek will probably be sitting second. And that's really the trip you want here. You don't necessarily want to be on the lead the way things are going at Keeneland right now. So looking for the 9 to get a good trip, sitting second or third. Dario, my second pick in here. Trainer Kenny McPeak's got this one coming back to Keeneland. First time since April, will be fresh off the layoff, dropping in for a claiming tag. When last seen here at Keeneland in the fall meet of 2022, ran 4th, beaten just 2 lengths and $150,000 maiden claimer, essentially that being a maiden special almost. By Free Drop Billy, who ran well here over the course at Keeneland as a 2-year-old. So Dario should like the course back here after a decent effort in October. If fit enough to run, I think Dario will be a horse that you want to watch in the exotics. 9, 7, 2, the way I line it up in race number 1. The 1 Sunset Town is the Steve Asmussen trainee who did show a little speed. Maybe this is the horse who will get sent to the front in here. Christian Torres rides, press the pace at Keeneland in the main track in October of last year when running against Lugan Knight, an eventual stakes winner. And then in the spring, or in the September return off an 11-month break, showed a little speed at Kentucky Downs as well before fading and running poorly there. Drop in class for Sunset Town. Could be speed, and the drop in class could be enough. I wouldn't argue if you wanted to use that one as well and go a couple deep in here. But I think it's Derek with Brad Cox training as the horse to beat in race number 1. But you could go as deep as 4 in here. 9, 7, 2, and 1. All logical kind of players in race number 1. Let's pivot and turn the page next up to race number 2 on the card on this Sunday program. It's a 1.16 2-year-old maiden special weight race. Todd Pletcher's got a runner in here. Brad Cox has a runner. This is what you expect, and we are getting the big trainers at the top of the standings here at the Keeneland meet. 10 different barns won the 10 races on Saturday. Nobody's particularly hot coming off of Saturday, but as you look at the trainer standings here at Keeneland, Pletcher, Cox, Chad Brown, they're all off to a really good start. That's kind of what you expect from Fall Stars weekend, but into week 2, they're also winning races here at Keeneland. Race number 2 will kick off the early pick 4. And not my key play of the day in here because I think there are multiple options. I think Show Off for Brad Cox, a wire-to-wire winner at Kentucky Downs in the career debut on the turf, will move to the main track and be a major contender in here. But I think from the inside post, Corby, the 2-horse for Todd Pletcher, is the one to beat, and the probably with the inside post position could end up being the one to catch. There's also some speed from Paynor, the 4-horse in here, and you think we're going to get speed from the Brad Cox trainee, but you never know if the turf horses are going to show speed on the dirt. I do know with Corby, this horse was pressing the pace at Ellis in the debut, and then in the Pocahontas Stakes was kind of mid-pack in that one, going a mile at Churchill. those are both one-turn races. You know, I've said it a million times, but I like the mile horses at Churchill going the one-turn mile, stretching out to a mile and a 16th here at Keeneland. They usually have a little more sharpness about them. They're pretty fit coming out of those races. And when you turn for home at Keeneland in a mile and a 16th race, you only have to get to the 16th pole finish line to survive and win. Corby can do that if this horse is in contention, turning for home, coming out of the Pocahontas. Also, Ripperton, the 2, comes out of that same Pocahontas Stakes. Not as much tactical speed with Ripperton, though, as with Corby. So I think Corby will be in front of that one. And that's the difference between liking the 1 over the 2. Also, the post position helps be able to save ground, cut the corner into the clubhouse turn under Luis Saez, an aggressive jockey. So 1, 6, and 2, the way I've got it. Everybody in the Keeneland selectors box also going 1, 6, 2 in some shape or form. Nobody else getting much of a look in here. Makes a lot of sense. The 2 horses coming out of the Pocahontas Stakes, along with the Brad Cox debut filly, Show Off, the daughter of Looking at Lucky. If she handles the dirt, she's obviously a major player in here. I would not put Ripperton on top. I would just go with Corby and Show Off and go too deep in this race. If you have a strong opinion of one of the 2, you want to single in the pick 4 and pick 5 in this particular spot, because that'll give you a chance to play your ticket for half the cost by just reducing 1 horse, or be able to play the ticket for the same amount of money twice as hard as you would have if you went too deep, if you can single here. So Corby, the 1, if I had to single 1, I would single the 1 over the 6. But if you want to go too deep in here, those are the 2, I think, that will get you through leg B of the pick 5, and of course leg A of the early pick 4. Race number 3 is up next at Keeneland. It's a dual condition claimer. This is for fillies and mares 3 and up, which have never won 3 races lifetime, or 3-year-old fillies could be in here and win any amount of races. We've got a filly in here who gets into the conditions as a 3-year-old filly with 3 career victories, Gormley-esque, but Gormley-esque has 1 race at Keeneland, finished off the board 4th after showing some speed. Probably handles the track just fine, but Gormley-esque not going to be in my top 3. This 3-year-old filly comes off races at Mountaineer. She's won 3 of her 4 races, last 4 races. So she's got 3 career wins. They've come in her last 4 starts, but they came at Mountaineer Park, and I just don't like the quality of competition there when you transfer it to Keeneland. So even though they were maiden special weight races, she's in a $20,000 claimer here for good reason. It's a $44,000 purse, worth more than twice the amount she ran for at Mountaineer in allowance company. So even though Gormley-esque is one that I would normally like, a 3-year-old filly who's already cleared this condition, taking on older horses, I'm just not going to trust that form from Mountaineer. She's not in my top 3, and nobody's got her in their top 3. It's really a 2-horse race in terms of the top choices in here. Sunday Grace, the 2 for trainer Ray Hernandez. Luis Saez rides here. This is a filly who last time out did not run well in allowance company, but if you go back to her prior 2 starts before that, in this same kind of dual condition claimers at Ellis Park, had 2 good 3rd place finishes, reunited with Saez, who rode in one of those. The blinkers do come off. She's run well with without the blinkers, and she's run well with the blinkers in those 2 races for this condition. Sunday Grace, my top pick in here. Not an overly confident pick for me. I think the 5 Yolanda Who has to be considered in here. Tom Amos trains this one. It's got a little bit of speed coming out of a race at Churchill. And You're Avoiding Me, a horse from Colonial Downs, Churchill, Turfway, well-traveled, ran poor in the 1 start at Keeneland. That's the concern. But 7 of the last 8 races in the money for You're Avoiding Me. And this is a trainer in claiming races at Keeneland you absolutely have to respect in Michael Tomlinson. So watch the 4-horse in here, You're Avoiding Me. Tomlinson does really good. I think he's 32% in claiming races at Keeneland over the years. He spots them well, and he usually waits until a little bit later at the meet to try to make some hay here when the races aren't quite as tough. And if you look down at this race, you've got horses from Mountaineer. You've got some other horses that are just kind of, beating around 2 for 15, 2 for 23. This isn't the toughest race in the world. So Tomlinson found a good spot, and he's really good at spotting his horses at Keeneland. You're Avoiding Me, one you absolutely have to consider in here. I would definitely use my top 2 picks in here, the 2 and the 4 in multi-race wagers. If you want to use the 5 as well, I would not argue with that. 3rd choice in here, and also the top pick for Scott and Kim. A lot of respect for them as handicappers. So 2, 4, and 5. If you get beyond 3 deep in here, I think you probably went a little too deep. But You're Avoiding Me is really interesting in here. If you can get a price, this is one where we do our advanced handicapping and we put them in the order we think they'll finish and how we rank the horses. But if you're avoiding me is a much better price than the 2-horse in here, they're close enough in my estimation that if you get a better price on that Tomlinson trainee, I would go with the 4 on top in a straight bet in the race. But certainly in multi-race bets, you want to use the 2, the 4, and maybe also the 5 in there. But hey, you give me twice the price. If one of them's 3-1 and the other one's 6-1, give me the bigger price in that particular spot in that matchup in race number 3 between the 2-horse and the 4. Okay, let's go to the 4th race on the card next up as we start the pick 6. Opens up here. Again, no carryover in the pick 6. No carryovers to speak of at Keeneland on Sunday. Super High 5 was also hit on this Saturday card. So to the 4th we go. Maiden Claimers, $20,000. I've got a saying when it comes to races like this, no horse wants to be in a maiden claimer. They're just slow and end up there, a maiden claiming route, that is. If you're going to drop into a maiden claimer, a maiden race, you're lightly raced, you're probably in the sprint ranks. If you're already to the route ranks in maiden claimers, you're either a lifetime maiden or you really don't have much ability. So we're not looking for a good horse in these kind of spots. We're looking for Mr. Right Now or Miss Right Now, who can match up and win these kind of races. Maiden claiming, $20,000. I'm often looking for horses who have a little bit of an opportunity to make a change. You know, they've been running against a higher class of horse. Now they make a drop. They've been running short. Now they run long. They make an equipment change, Lasix for the first time. Maiden claiming routes, like I say, nobody wants to be here. They just end up here. So you're looking for changes, horses that are trying to do something different. If you've already been in a maiden claiming route race and you've been beaten, there's nowhere else to go. There's nowhere. You're not going to find any slower horses on the grounds than a maiden claiming route. So if you've already been here and lost that, you kind of stay in these conditions for a long time, it seems like. So look for horses making changes here in race number 4. And we've got one down on the rail for trainer Brad Cox, who's probably going to be tough in here on the class drop. Desert Wolf is the name. First time for Brad Cox. This is a trainer who does exceptionally well with mile and a 16th horses at Keeneland. We've talked about that. Remember the stat, Brad Cox, 31% plus with mile and a 16th horses at Keeneland. And I mentioned it on last night's show because it came true again with First Mission in the finale. When Brad Cox has a mile and a 16th horse who draws the rail, he's now won 8 out of 12 with a 3rd place finish. It was 7 for 11 going into the last race on the card today. First Mission from the rail going a mile and a 16th, another victory for Cox. So his horses are exceptional. And when they get the rail, they usually don't give back that advantage. 8 for 12, just a tremendous percentage, 75% wins from a fairly decent sample size of 12. So Desert Wolf is Brad Cox on the class drop, has been running in maiden specials, draws the rail at a mile and a 16th. The form doesn't look spectacular, obviously, a bad effort last time, but some of the races prior to that were pretty decent. So the change here is the class drop. This horse has never been in for a claiming tag. All maiden specials to this point through 6 starts. First time on the class drop, that's the change we're looking for to change the end result. As for the other handicappers here in the Keeneland Handicapper Selectors box, nobody else taking the Brad Cox horse on top. A couple have Desert Wolf with respect on the underneath side. My Uncle Frank gets top choice here, the 3 horse from Scott and Kim. Exemplified, the 7, top pick of Caton. And the Gatekeeper, top choice in here for Tom Leach. So 5 handicappers, 4 different horses picked on top. Only My Uncle Frank doubled up, and I didn't use My Uncle Frank in the top 3. So this, as you look at this is one of the reasons we show this handicapper selectors box each night. This tells you there is no cohesion in the handicappers for this particular race. The public's probably going to follow. If you talk to 5 handicappers like we have in the box here, and there's no consensus opinion on anybody, then it's a race that's probably going to be pretty wide open on the tote board. So let's see what happens. I'm sure Desert Wolf is going to get overbet from a value standpoint. I don't know that this horse is the right bet in the race because even though the other handicappers in the box are trying to beat that runner, chances are the public is just going to default to Brad Cox. But I love that mile and a 16th from the rail. When you're 8 for 12, I'm not picking against it at this particular point. So I'm looking for Desert Wolf to be awfully strong in there. 8 for 12 is 67%. I think I said it was 75% a couple minutes ago. But my math teacher is probably going to be upset with me from high school. But Desert Wolf from the rail, Brad Cox, I'll take that one. Honor Gold, the 4, another one who's drawn pretty well for a mile and a 16th. The 4 hole, a good post there for Honor Gold by Honor Code. Kenny McPeak's the trainer. He does really well with the maiden claiming routers here. Not necessarily by a huge percentage because Kenny runs so many of them, and a lot of times he'll run multiple in the same race, but he wins a lot of maiden claiming route races here at Keeneland. Would not be a surprise to see Honor Gold by a really good Keeneland Dirt Siren Honor Code be tough in this spot. Exemplified's got a good second place finish at Churchill last time, but that one has already dropped into the maiden claiming route ranks and just kind of ran second last time in a decent effort. They put the blinkers on last time, so it was like go time to win last time for Exemplified and didn't quite get it done. We'll see back second time in this race. Kind of been there, lost that. Same way with Honor Gold. This is a horse who's been in the maiden claiming routes and has already lost. So give me somebody fresh in here. And I got to say, while it looks like a wide open race to the public handicappers, if you're playing the pick fours and pick fives in here, I would just single the one and be done with it. Because if you don't single the one, now you're starting to get into horses that kind of look all about the same, second, third, fourth, fifth. You don't have a whole lot of coverage if you're 3 deep. You don't have a lot of coverage if you're 4 deep necessarily that gives you any more confidence. And it starts to rack up the price of the ticket. I'd rather just single in here, take the Cox horse with the rail with that great percentage. And in race number 4, we'll just try to get by singling here. Not with the most talented single that you're ever going to put together on your tickets, but the best one in terms of trying to find any value. This horse will not have value intra-race, right? I said intra-race, he's probably going to be over bet and a bad bet to bet straight up the win. But in terms of a pick 4 and pick 5, he could have value because he's going to be the favorite in the race. And people are going to go 3, 4, 5, 6 deep in this race if the handicapper selectors box is any indication. So if they're going 4, 5 deep to get the favorite, there's a lot of losing tickets. They're going to pay the winners at that point. That's how the parimutuel game works. So the value in this horse in race number 4 is to take the rail horse, single in the multi-race wagers, and don't worry about the intra-race bets. That's how we'll just try to survive in advance early into the program. Next up is the 5th race, and we're not just trying to survive the 5th. We're trying to thrive in the 5th because we've got one of our key plays of the day. Race number 5, we've got a power post here, post 3, 4, and 5. You know I've talked about this over the years in turf sprints with large fields at Keeneland, how successful post 3, 4, and 5 are statistically. This starts the pick 5. The late pick 5. It'll end the early pick 5, and it also starts the Keeneland turf pick 3. So you start your handicapping in these races looking at post 3, 4, and 5, and you're trying to figure out, can a horse from that post be the one? That's the way I start my handicapping. We've only had one full field turf sprint with a capacity field so far this meet. It was Arzak at $25 in the Woodford Stakes. It was our top pick who won that one. Power post, had a hot pace to chase into, was able to rally up the inside and win that race at a huge price. Same thing here. We've got a really good looking field with a ton of early speed to it. And we've got a horse in the 5 hole named Mark of the Z who loves this Keeneland turf course. Mark of the Z's run Keeneland turf sprints 5 times, 2 wins, 2 second place finishes. There's going to be a ton of speed in this race. We'll be able to save ground. And it's just a matter if Raylu Gutierrez can get through on this one. I love Mark of the Z, my play of the day on Sunday. And it's the horse that we're just going to really lock into. Intra-race, we're keying the 5 on top, looking at the exotics, the exactas, the tries, the super, if you like to play supers. I'm not a super player, but if you are, this is a good race to attack. Again, a big field of 12. You've got a horse. I don't think Mark of the Z is going to vie for favoritism in here. I think there'll be other horses that the public locks in on. Let's look at the other handicappers and see who they have in race number 5, the opening leg of this Keeneland Turf Pick 3. I'm on the island. You think we're going to get a price? Mark of the Z, the only top pick in here from the public handicappers who have Cloudy picked twice, Heaven Street the 4 once, and Artemis City Limits also picked by Kim. So 5 handicappers, again, 4 different horses picked on top, and nobody's got the 5 Mark of the Z even in their top 3. I absolutely love this when this happens. Let's see if we can't get Arzak Part 2 and get another $20, $24, $25 horse. Would be absolutely beautiful. We can get a big price on Mark of the Z. There are some other horses in this race to like, obviously. To the outside, Go Bears Go has a ton of class. Wesley Ward trains this one. Joel Rosario rides. You absolutely have to respect Ward and Rosario. Nobody else is using the 12 in their top 4. So this is, or in their top 3. This is a situation where I absolutely love the 3 horses that I have 1, 2, 3, and nobody has the 2. Biz Buzz as well. Fed Biz, the sire of Biz Buzz, has an exceptional record on the Keeneland turf in sprints. There have been 4 horses by Fed Biz run a turf sprint at Keeneland in our database over the last 17 years. 3 of them have won. 3 out of 4 have won by Fed Biz. They love the turf sprint here at Keeneland. I'm looking forward to seeing what this one, Biz Buzz, can do. Mike Trombetta trained Arzak, who won the Woodford turf sprinting here at Keeneland. Similar running style from off the pace. Julian Leperoux lides. It's a tougher draw down there in the 2-hole. You're going to get a lot of horses come and close down on you. He's going to have to weave his way through. But I love the 5, I love the 12, and I love the 2. We've got to use those 3 in exactas, trifectas. You know, the 5 is my key horse to win this race. So it's 5 over the 212 in exactas. It's 5 with 212 with all in trifectas. It's 5 with all with 212 in trifectas, with those 2 other horses running third, and anybody can get in the spot in between. Then we're looking at some 5, 212 exacta and trifecta boxes. I'm not usually one to box horses, but when you have 3 horses that could all be very fair prices, if not good prices, that's the one time to take a look at a box. But certainly I want the 5 to be on more combinations than just a traditional box where they're all equally weighted. I like the 5 more than I like the 2 and the 12, and you've got to bet accordingly when you like that way. So this is a race to bet on Sunday, 7 ways to Sunday, as we like to say. Really looking forward to race number 5 on Sunday. Let's see if we can't strike while the iron is hot in these turf sprint races. Looking for the 5 to make a big rally in here. Mark of the Z, my play of the day on Sunday. Okay, let's go to the 6th race now as we get into the back half of the card. 9-race program. 6th race starts the pick 4. And again, if you're playing that Keeneland Turf pick 3, I would use the 5, 2, and 12 as well in the Keeneland Turf pick 3. More tickets with the 5 moving ahead, but I would use all 3 of them on top in the Keeneland Turf pick 3 because you could get a nice price to start out the sequence. 6th race starts the late pick 4. Let's see what we've got here across the handicapper selectors box in race number 6. Sweet Sunshine, the top pick in here for myself and also for Tom. Sweet Sunshine picked underneath by Caton and Kim. As for the other picks in here, the 9, Happy Talk, and the 2, Final Draft. So 5 handicappers with 3 different horses on top in here. The 8 and 9 both get double calls. Caton's got the 2. Final Draft is her top pick. Caton's top pick in here, Final Draft, first-time starter for trainer Mark Cassie. This is one that I've got in the top 3. Good-looking workout tab here. Cassie's had a lot of success with the 2-year-olds in the fall meet at Keeneland over the years. Would not be a surprise. Maiden specials in race number 6 going 7 furlongs. These 2-year-old maiden special weights at Keeneland typically are first-time starters or horses coming out of the Churchill meet. That's what you want to look for. At this current session, it's been almost exclusively that. I think we've had 6 of those kind of races, 4 first-time starters, 1 from Churchill, and 1 outsider. You really want to lean either on a first-time starter or a horse from Churchill. And the way this race lines up, I mean, that's where you're going to end up with the first-time starters or the Churchill types. Only Abundant Life comes out of the race at Kentucky Downs. Steampunk comes out of a race at Colonial. You've got Ruby Queen from Saratoga. So maybe you can kind of limit those 3 out of the mix and then start your decision-making process amongst the others. I think Sweet Violet, a horse who comes out of a race at Churchill Downs, is a horse who's interesting here. Ian Wilkes trains. We've talked about Ian Wilkes with winners in 4 of the last 5 or 6 cards at Keeneland. His horses are running exceptionally well right now. And a bunch of those winners were maiden winners. I think 3 of the 4 winners during this streak for Wilkes were horses who had maiden conditions and broke their maidens. Sweet Violet fits into that mix. 2-year-old maiden special weight here. Would not be a surprise at all to see Sweet Violet win this race. I went with Sweet Sunshine as my top pick here, though. This is a Brad Cox Godolphin trainee, first-time starter. We've talked about Brad Cox a lot over the last couple of days. We've talked about Godolphin ad nauseum on today's show and how well their horses are running. This hard-spun filly is out of a mare named Embolden. What I like about this is Embolden was a debut winner. A lot of times these precocious types can pass that along to their offspring. She won in her first career start and then later went on to become a 7-furlong stakes winner. So she was best at 7 furlongs and a debut winner. This is a 7-furlong debut effort for Sweet Sunshine. You get Cox, you get Giroux, you get Godolphin. Decent workout tab for this one as well. So Sweet Sunshine going to be my top pick here in race number 6, but you absolutely have to look at Sweet Violet as well. The way these horses are running right now for Ian Wilkes, absolutely keep that one in mind. If the 16 best of all draws in off the also eligible list, you positively want to put that one in. This is another one, best of all. Talk about that one off the AE list for just a second. Similar to what we talked about with Sweet Sunshine, the dam here of the 16 best of all, her name is Best Performance, She was a debut winner, went on to run second in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. So you know she was a really good 2-year-old. But then later in her career, she also was stakes placed on the main track. So very versatile, like her sire Candy Ride, versatile on dirt or turf. I would expect Best of All to be very strong for Chad Brown and Tyler Gaffalione if that one happens to draw in. If that one draws in, I would use 3 horses in this race in any multi-race bets. Sweet Violet, Sweet Sunshine, and then Best of All. Final draft, the first-time starter for Cassie. I'll try to beat that one. I've got him picked third as the most likely third horse in here, but would be my 4th pick if Best of All happened to draw into the race out of the 16. So final draft, if the budget allows and you want to throw another runner in there, I'm not going to talk you off of that, but Sweet Sunshine, Sweet Violet, the 2 I really want. The D. Wayne Lucas trainee, Happy Talk, an Arrowgate 175 grander, getting a lot of love in the first-time starter ranks from Scott and Kim. Kim, a very good pedigree handicapper, looking at this daughter of Arrowgate out of the Speightstown mare Chattertown. So we'll see. Lucas hasn't won a lot with first-time starters in recent years, but you know he can over the decades. Joel Rosario rides Happy Talk. Some good options in race number 6. Could be a 2-year-old filly race to watch down the line. Let's go to the 7th race, and it's our feature on the card. It is the Franklin Stakes. Grade 2 company here, $350,000. It's grade 2 in name, but the headliner here absolutely is a grade 1 filly. Her name is Caravel. She won this race last year before returning to Keeneland in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint and knocking off the boys. That was an upset that day. She will be no upsetter on Sunday. She'll be heavily favored. Here's Caravel at her very best last year on Breeders' Cup Day.
To the top of the stretch here, and it's Caravel who turns for home on the lead. Caravel on top, a length and a half. Highfield Princess and Golden Pal, both with work to do. Our team with City Limits and Marati Anna is charging through an opening on the inside. By the 16th pole, Caravel and Marati Anna, these two with creative force, closing in the middle. It is going to be Caravel to win the turf sprint over Marati Anna.
So Caravel, she's not going to be that big price. She'll be odds on. She'll be 2 to 5, 3 to 5 in this particular spot. We've got a field of 9 in the Franklin Stakes. You know, the rail's not a great place to be in a turf sprint when we get those big fields of 12, the capacity fields. Everybody's kind of crushing down on you. But as the field size shrinks, we see the inside do much, much better in turf sprints. There's more room to work with. And sometimes they actually don't even start as close to the fence and the hedge because they've got some stalls to work with. So I think it'll be a more comfortable trip for Caravel than you might suspect from the rail here in this turf sprint spot. She's going to be very tough to beat. There is some other speed in this race, and she is a front runner, but she doesn't necessarily have to have the lead. Who might go to the front? Train to Artemis is very fast. Twilight Gleaming is very fast. Bay Storm is very fast. There are options to try to go make the lead. BG Warrior on the outside is one who likes to go to the front as well. So if jockey Tyler Gaffalione can get Caravel just into a decent position, 3rd, 4th, going into the far turn, start to advance and be in contention at the top of the stretch, she could punch home on the inside here and get through with the victory. I think it's going to be a very fast pace in this race, and I think Caravel's going to be up there. I don't think she's going to sit 3-4 lengths off of it, so she's going to be up into the mix, and she's a high-class mare. When that happens, typically the other horses are going to be gutted, as we say. They're going to go out with her, they're going to run with her, and they're going to pay the price for doing so. So a late-running closer is really, to me, the way you want to look in the exacta in this race, and that's why one of my key plays of the day here is, even though we know we've got a really short price favorite in this race, this is still going to be one of my key plays of the day because I think we can go with a straight exacta cold punch in this race, in race number 7. Caravel to Waka Naka. Waka Naka is a closer who won here on Breeders' Cup Day going a mile in the Fall Harvest last year. We know that she likes Keeneland. She's a very consistent closing turf sprinter. She's going to get some of the best in New York this year. Her last race was a good one at Kentucky Downs when running right behind Bay Storm. Bill Mott trains Waka Naka, and Joel Rosario rides. There's no better turf sprint jockey here at Keeneland, Joel Rosario. He's going to have the time to move down pat. Waka Naka is going to be flying at the end, and I think she runs a clear second to Caravel. 1-2 exacta as many times as you can play it. I think that's the play, and I think Caravel wins here in her tune-up towards the Breeders' Cup. Now, if you're going to beat her, it's probably not going to be in the front. Again, she's fast. She doesn't need the lead, but she's very fast. So if you're going in front of Caravel, you're probably going too fast. If you're going to try to upset her in this spot, Maybe Wakanaka is the other play as the rallier in here. If you beat her, I think it's because she got tangled up in a big pace duel. And if that's the case, then a closer might be able to take advantage late. I don't think anybody in the front's going to run her into the ground and keep going, though. I think they would all pay the price under that scenario. Wesley Ward has Twilight Gleaming in this spot. Obviously, you got to respect any Wesley Ward turf sprinter here at Keeneland. He's got, 46 turf sprint wins at Keeneland since our database debuted 17 years ago. No other trainer has more than 8. 46-8 is the gap between Wesley Ward and everybody else. So if you want to play Ward with a filly who's already won a turf sprint over this track, she won here in the spring in the Giants Causeway. I wouldn't have a big argument with that, but she was 4th in this race to Caravel last year when up near the front. I don't think she can run in front of Caravel and sustain. I think she'll get swallowed up. Twilight Gleaming, though, a high-class filly. And we've really got a nice edition of the Franklin Stakes in the featured 7th. Let's take a look at the other handicappers across the selectors box. We are all in on Caravel. Who runs second in here, though? I'm the only one with Wakanaka in that spot. So let's see if we can't get $12, $14, $16 on the exacta. And basically, if you think Caravel is a free space in this race to win, that means you're getting $14 or $16 on Wakanaka to beat the rest of the field. That's like saying this horse would be 6, 7, 8 to 1 to beat the rest of these horses. I would love that price. If Caravel were to scratch in this race and you could get 6 or 8 to 1 on Wakanaka against the rest of the field, I would love that. So that's why I like the exacta in this spot, paying $16, $18. I'm looking at Caravel as a free punch, and then we'll try to hit the exacta with Wakanaka underneath. To the 9th race we go, or the 8th race we go, a Lowndes Company here, 6.5 furlongs. Talking Cash for Brad Cox, top pick in here. Talking Cash, the 4 for me. I'm the only one on the Brad Cox horse today on Sunday. Kind of odd. We don't see that typically. Bourbon Bash gets a couple top picks in here. Billy Jack, Pensacola also. So 5 handicappers, 4 different horses on top. Talking Cash was a debut winner at Turfway in 109-4 back in March. This is a colt by Knott this time. Will come out fresh. I think will come out breathing fire off the layoff at the 6.5 furlong trip. Yes, the career debut win was on the synthetic, but this horse is by Knott this time, who's one of the top sires on the dirt here at Keeneland statistically over the last several years. So no reason to think that Talking Cash won't like the main track here at Keeneland. Has a local work over the track. Cox gets Tyler Gaffleone, top rider here at Keeneland. A lot points to this one. I'm on Talking Cash in here. I thought Billy Jack was usable. Did not use that one in my top 3. Pensacola's in my top 3. You Ain't Popping Down on the Rail for Brendan Walsh, one that's also part of my top 3 in here. But I think it's Talking Cash, and I think this is a potential single in here. I think this horse is going to win. And if you want to try to narrow your ticket a bit, I think this is the spot to do so. Pensacola is a horse going turf to dirt, cross the turf race out in the dirt form, looks pretty good in there. But I don't see him beating Talking Cash if she comes back or he comes back and runs as well as he did at Turfway back in the spring. So give me Talking Cash, give me Brad Cox in back-to-back races. Everybody likes the Caravel end of the Brad Cox train today, but I think he goes back-to-back in races 7 and 8. 4, 6, and 1, the order for me. A lot of commonality amongst the other handicappers with Bourbon Bash in here. Billy Jack getting some attention. Bourbon Bash is a horse who's run 17 times. Comes out of the Harrods Creek Stakes. We're running second to Ever So Mischievous last time out. But 1 for 17 lifetime. I don't know. I mean, if a 1 for 17 runner who's been 11 to 1, 20 to 1, 19 to 1, 10 to 1, 11, 15, 12, hasn't been single digit odds in what's that? 7 straight starts. You're 1 for 17 and you haven't been single digit odds in 7 straight starts. If I get beat by Bourbon Bash, so be it. I do think that there's a good rider pairing, though. This is a late runner who gets Joel Rosario. I think that's a good fit. And 6.5 furlongs should be a suitable distance for this horse. But I'm not taking Bourbon Bash on top at 1 for 17 lifetime and a horse who's been double-digit odds in 7 straight races. Let's go to the final race on the card. It'll wrap up the Keeneland Turf Pick 3. We are singling Caravel as far as the Keeneland Turf Pick 3. So 3 deep in the Turf Pick 3 in race number 5. Single Caravel in race number 7. Then as we get to the 9th and final race, we're going 1.5 mile Turf Marathon Allowance race. I think there are 4 of them you can use in here in the Keeneland Turf Pick 3. If you want to narrow it down a little bit, let's talk first about the top pick in here, Bravo Kitten. I think we're going to get a big price on Bravo Kitten. And my top pick in here, number 10, not picked by the other public handicappers, but for a 3rd place tout from Kim, as R. Callie Kim, the one, a top choice here by 3 handicappers. I wrote usable by 4th choice in this race for the one, R. Callie Kim, coming off back-to-back victories at Saratoga and Kentucky Downs. Those races were a little bit shorter, mile and a 16th, mile and 5/16. I'm not so sure that this pedigree screams a mile and a half out of a more than ready mare. That's why R. Callie Kim was not my top 3. That's what put this horse down in the 4th line for me. Has never run this far, and the pedigree says probably a little bit longer than the horse is bred to do its best at, but I have no worry the pedigree for Bravo Kitten. This is a horse who's run on the Keeneland turf 3 times, 2 seconds and a 3rd place finish in those. 2nd back in April or 3rd back in April at this same kind of condition and trip by Kitten's Joy out of a Dynaformer mare. I see Dynaformer in the pedigree going a mile and a half on the turf at Keeneland. It's almost a blind bet for me. This horse has not run since April, so you can question the fitness, and I understand that questioning. But Ken Moranzi sends this one out with Safi Joseph Jr. I've seen them do things over the years that, conventional handicapping, you might say this horse needs a race. They get them fit off the layoff. So I would not be surprised at all if Safi has Bravo Kitten ready to run a big one. First start back since the spring meet here at Keeneland. Again, love the pedigree for a mile and a half. Love the past form over this course and distance. So it's Bravo Kitten for me and Florent Giroux at a nice price and won't be far off the pace. This horse is really a horse who likes to track a length and a half, 2 lengths off the lead. And with Giroux riding, I wouldn't be surprised if they even go to the front in this particular spot. There is very little early pace. Sand and Sea has a little bit of speed in here. Maybe Sand and Sea makes the front. Mally Moo stretching out in distance. Then you could see Bravo Kitten sitting 2nd or 3rd in this particular race, which would be a great trip. He's the top pick in here for me. You've got to look at Amani's Image for trainer Graham Motion. He does exceptionally well in these mile and a half turf races, especially in a Lowndes company. John Velasquez rides, who's had a great start to this fall meet. Amani's Image pedigree there says a mile and a half. Maybe, maybe not. We'll have to see. Mike Maker, the other one we talked about in these allowance races on turf and the mile and a halfs on turf. You've got to watch Stir Crazy in here. Stir Crazy is the 12 horse is going to have to go a little bit wide onto that first turn. But this horse was claimed 2 starts back by Mike Maker for $35,000. How many times have we seen over the years Mike Maker claim one for 30, 40, 50,000 as a turf marathoner and turn them into a major graded stakes winner? It's just happened probably a dozen times in his career. This horse, Stir Crazy, for Maker, 2nd time off the claim, could turn out to be a really good turf marathoner. So stretching out in distance, it doesn't show anything on paper where you think Stir Crazy would be a turf marathoner. But Maker has an unbelievable way of pulling it off over the years. So I would absolutely use Stir Crazy in here. I love the top pick in here, Bravo Kitten. Amani's Image for Graham Motion, a lot of respect. 10, 9, 12, definitely want to go 3 deep in the multi-race wagers. The 10, my key play of those. Or Callie Kim, if you want to add in, I'm not sure about the distance. If you want to go 4 deep, then you would add the 1 in here. 10, 9, 12, and 1. That's a wrap for the handicapping for this card on Sunday. If you'd like to get my email Substack sent to you each and every racing day at Keeneland, you'll get a link to my information for that day's card, picks, handicapping stats and trends, things like that. And of course, I'll also send out free information after the Keeneland meet on various handicapping races of the week and Big Breeders' Cup news and notes as we get closer to the World Championships in a couple weeks. So sign up at Substack, Jeremy Plonk, all one word, no space, jeremyplonk.substack.com, and you can get information sent to your email inbox free every day, no charge there for any of that information. We'll be happy to have you. So thanks for joining us on this Saturday night, or if you're watching Sunday on the archive section of the YouTube page or on Twitter. So we appreciate you joining us for a preview of the Franklin Stakes Day. Exciting to have another Breeders' Cup champion back with Caravel on this card. I will be back Tuesday night at 8:30 Eastern to preview the Wednesday card, as we will hit the second half of the Keeneland meet as we get to Wednesday. This is day 8 on Sunday for the Keeneland Look Ahead preview of 17 days of the season. When we rejoin you on Tuesday, we'll start the second half of the meet. Have a great Sunday, everybody. Good luck. Good luck to the Cats and also the Cardinals, who are still in action tonight as we finish our podcast. Have a great night, everybody.